What is it we're talking about? Someone catch me up. Are they Disney favorites? Oh, did you? That's okay. Gina, you're cracking me up. Let's do it. What's your favorite Disney movie? Put it in chat. Favorite Disney movie? Milo, what's your favorite Disney movie? Come over here. Ooh, Encanto. Kylie, that's such a good one. We've been watching that. Dude, that music gets stuck in your head literally for days. Milo, tell me your favorite. Lilo and Stitch is her favorite. Do we have any Stitch fans in the house? Lion King 2. Bambi, Mulan. Isaiah loves Lilo and Stitch. She's pumped. Princess and the Frog. Aww. Aladdin. I'm trying to make sure what I didn't see. Bambi, Mulan. Lion King. Lady and the Tramp. Brave. Oh, Brianna loves Lilo and Stitch too, my Entangled. Rennie, what's your favorite Disney princess? Rennie, what's your favorite Disney princess? Belle. She likes Beauty and the Beast. Jaina is Mirabelle. Today is a special day because it is Riley's birthday. It is. Should we sing happy birthday to her? Happy birthday. Everybody give Riley some love. Anybody going to turn their microphones on? Or am I going to be the only one singing happy birthday? Everyone singing happy birthday by Mrs. Rittenhouse being the only one that sings happy birthday. Anybody else can turn their mic on if we sing it? I'll do it. I'm just not doing it alone. Everybody's sending you birthday love. I don't know that I've seen anyone brave enough to turn their mic on with me. Alex is not singing.
Good morning, fellas. Also, kid and dog.
Okay, my mic is not good either. All right, fine, I'll sing it. If anybody wants to surprise me and turn their mic on, you're my new favorite student. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, what are we doing?
All right, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Riley. Happy birthday to you. Hey. Throwing some confetti your way.
Hope the cake tastes
That was
good.
my first singing in class. That's how much I love you. Y'all are sweet. All right. Jana was singing off mic. And I guess she's glad she was off mic. Oh, did you sing on mic? Why didn't I hear you? Did you really sing? Oh, Kaden, my speaker's off. Did y'all hear Kaden? I didn't even hear you.
Yeah, I was singing. I was
I
kind
hear
of
you
doing.
now.
I was in the
Oh,
background.
you
I
were
was in the back.
Kaden and Jana. Oh, I love you guys.
No problem.
Thanks for doing that. You guys are rocks. Rock stars. All right. So we talked about favorite Disney movies. Riley, what's your favorite Disney movie since you're our birthday girl today? I'm sorry I didn't hear you, Mila. I didn't hear anyone. I didn't realize my speaker was off. Lion King 2 and Encanto. So cool. I saw a couple on the Olympics. They were doing like a pair skating, dancing, something or other. And they did it to Lion King. I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of made me want to cry. It was so and someone was talking about like how good Lion King is. I know, me too. I'm loving the Olympics. I'm enjoying watching all of that every night until too late. Awesome. Well, we'll get moving into class because I owe you 10 minutes from yesterday, or at least 5. So I've got our right calendar up here. We've got a couple quizzes this week. We've got our Unit 2 test. What? Yeah, Luca's a good movie too. All right. So there is a study guide in the classroom. Is the study guide mandatory? Nope. The study guide is not mandatory. You do not have to do it. I would love it if you do because those of you have shared before, those questions those questions on that study guide are real familiar, aren't they, when you get to the test? No, I promise I will not hunt you down. It's not mandatory, but it's very helpful. If you want to know what's on your test, just look at the study guide because it will tell you. It's a really good prep tool. And I'm not going to say I don't care if you use it. I mean, if you look through up all those answers and use it on your test, then I say that's helpful. All right, so those study guides are optional. You can turn them in. They are extra credit and they will help you in doing on your test. All right, we have class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are optional help sessions. And today we are going to look at species. Species. I have my microphone on and I would love to hear someone's voice since my sound is on now.
Good evening, gentlemen. What is a species? What is speciation? And what are some examples of how a population can just become isolated and no longer be a population?
Good. So we're going to be down here on this knowledge end of the triangle today, kind of regaining some basic knowledge. French. Bonjour. I love it. So that's what we're going to do today. Get some knowledge baseline. We've learned this unit about evolution, all right? We talked about whether you believe in the concept of evolving from nothing to something and saying we can put all of our opinions on that aside, but evolution is a fancy word for what? To evolve is a fancy word for what? Xavier's on his game. Change. Good. Change. And we know we all change, right? We can do, we talked about age one day. I mean, just think about the amount of changes you've seen in yourself, right? Part of that is growth. But I want to say, like, since I've been like fully grown, which I'm 5'1.5", so that's been since like 5th grade. I feel like that who I am has adapted a lot as I've experienced life. Right, has changed a lot. We've talked about natural selection. What is natural selection? Survival of the what? Yeah, survival of the fittest. When nature chooses, when nature chooses. All right. We are doing, I think it's 2.14 today. Let me go back to the calendar. We've actually done this lesson already, so we switched these up. We're doing 2.14 today and 213. So there's different ways nature chooses. We learned that this unit. We learned stabilizing, directional, and disruptive. There's 3 different ways that nature chooses. Can somebody tell me what one is? Let's just pull out the whiteboard. This is important for. So I might just draw because it's fast. So we have stabilizing. Wow, that's a bad. All right. And then we have disruptive. Wow. I'm really bad at this. I shouldn't have done it. And we have directional. D I R. All right. Can I have 3 volunteers? Would somebody do stabilizing for me and just either draw a picture and or explain? When nature chooses and uses a stabilizing form, how does it choose and what does it choose? Somebody's going for it. Yes. So stabilizing is when nature chooses basically the average. It says, I'm not picking the strongest or the weakest. I'm picking the average American that's strength. That doesn't work out, okay? Stabilizing is when nature chooses the middle. All right, so disruptive. Disruptive. Yes. Nature chooses both extremes. Absolutely. All right. It's the one end and the other end. Great job, Kaden, Brianna. You guys are rocking it. All right. So in disruptive, it's kind of like that graph where it's favoring both extremes. Good. And in directional natural selection, nature just chooses one extreme. I kind of want to cry. I'm so happy today. People sang with me, and you remembered all of these. Look at this, right? So directional, you're just picking one extreme. So if it were comparing like weakest, strongest, the left, like that they've highlighted it, maybe that would be the weakest, right? And that's what nature chooses. Just one side or the other. Thank you, JB, Brianna, Kaden, all of you that contributed to that. I don't see scribbles. I see like Picasso of biology right there. Mila, I missed you up there. I'm sorry. I'm trying to click on everybody's things. I'm trying to click on everybody's drawings. I'm sorry if I missed yours. Did I see it, Mila? Disruptive. You are. We gotta give Mila some love. I'm sorry, Mila. Forgive me. I didn't hear your singing and I didn't see your drawing. Well, it's so weird. You have to click on every little image on the board or otherwise it won't show names. It doesn't just pop up for me. So I was clicking around. Mila, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I really do feel bad. You really are incredibly valuable to us. I love you bunches. Awesome. Thanks for forgiving me. All right, so speciation. This is what we're going to, it really was, I promise. Going to talk about today is how a new species forms. So we talked about things change, nature chooses, and then because of all of that, we end up in a spot where sometimes we actually can get a new species. No, she's not. She's not whatsoever. All right, so anybody want to read to me what a species is?
Oh my dear, ain't. Okay, Angel dear, let's go. I don't know where I am. That's not what I'm used to. Species, the largest group of organisms capable of interbreeding and producing viable, living, fertile offspring.
Great job. You're hearing Caden. You're hearing Caden. The Aussie. Is that your accent today? I love it. So yes, so the species is the largest group of an organism capable of interbreeding. All right. I mean, awkward conversation, but let's just say it. Okay, so it says capable of interbreeding. I mean, it means what it says. All right, it's not. I like so that's what I'm saying. Some species legitly like cannot breed with other species for for obvious reasons. All right. There are different ways of species reproducing, and that's kind of for a reason. All right, that's to keep species for breeding with other of the same species. All right. And honestly, because what happens, and we talked about this a little bit when I shared my story about Rennie being born in a lab, right? Or being conceived in a lab, is that honestly, if you were to combine genetic information from, let's just say, a cat and a starfish, all right, the DNA would have to combine to make a new baby. All right, but because they have different genes, different genetics, different amounts of chromosomes, that's why we don't get a starfish cat. All right. One way is because they just are not capable of having the same type of reproduction, right? They are not capable of interbreeding. If they didn't, their DNA would stop it at the same time. You didn't think we'd be having this conversation today, did you? I would be an interesting animal, right? Like a really cute starfish with a really cute cat face. All right. Who remembers, and this is a stretch, all right. Who remembers how a starfish reproduces? Does anybody remember that? We talked about it just very briefly. So a cat actually reproduces sexually, all right? But a starfish does not reproduce sexually, it reproduces asexually. Actually, I believe a starfish can reproduce sexually and asexually. The sexual way is not a way that it could interbreed with a cat, but that's fine, Emma. All right. But remember the starfish, if it loses one of its legs, it like gets chopped off by like a predator or like a boat or whatever, its little piece of its starfish severed limbs, yep, can make a new one. Right? What does that tell us about the genetic diversity of starfish? A lot or a little? Is there a lot of diversity or little diversity? You're right, Kaden. There's very little diversity because when something reproduces asexually, it's just a clone. Just like if you would chop off my arm and my arm would regrow into a new Mrs. Rittenhouse. It would be the same Mrs. Rittenhouse, genetically the same. It would, thank you, Isaiah. We shouldn't make this a science experiment. We shouldn't chop my arm off and see if it works. Should I have my husband bring out the chainsaw? No, okay. I'm sorry. Today's getting very dramatic. I'm getting very off topic. All right. So, all of that to say that a species is a big group of the same organism. In fact, it's not just a population. Yesterday we talked about chickens that live in Miami County where I live, or if they lived up where Alex lives in Kent, or down where Izzy does in Cincinnati. All of those chickens, all right, that all of Ohio chickens or all of chickens that live anywhere would be considered the same species, right? There are different populations geographically, but a species is bigger than that. All right. So we're talking bigger than this population. We're talking a species is the biggest group of a single organism that can interbreed and produce viable, fertile offspring. All right. Y'all are so excited about me losing my arm. All right, so we're going to talk about a species today. That species and how we can get a new one. All right, so this is how. Are you ready? This is the 1, 2, 3 of making a new species. So the first thing there has to be is geographic isolation. Geographic. What's the word geographic mean? Teach me. Yeah? Good. Area, location, space. Yeah. An area on the earth. Oh, that's okay, Peyton. Yes. So we're looking at first, we have to have some type of isolation. That means something weird has to happen, something uncommon has to happen that separates one or some of a species from the other. All right. Ecological race. All right, so what happens then? The population starts to become genetically different, but its members can still interbreed with each other. So that what happens is a species gets separated and then it starts to change, but it doesn't change so dramatically. All right, it doesn't change so dramatically that it can't still breed or get along or be a part of the species. All right. And then eventually over time, the genetic difference, the allele, those alleles change enough that the species can no longer interbreed. Right? You know me in pictures, so let's just look at this from a picture perspective. You guys in chat are killing me. All right. So I want you to take a minute. Look at this picture. This is how speciation works. We're looking at snails. Yep. Take a picture, look at these. All right. So the very first thing that happens is what? Step 1 in speciation is what? You guys have board tools? Oh yeah, you do, because you were drawing earlier. Point to the very first thing that had to happen. Yep, I see one person that's right. All right, this crevice in the earth. Earthquake. All right, so something had to happen. Who remembers what this is called? Yep, someone's pointing to it. Geographic isolation. All right, so in the Great Divide, some of these green snails got stuck on one side of the earth. Some of the snails got separated on the other. Sad day for the snail family. Then what started happening to the snails? And I mean, like, I'm guessing there are different environmental factors on this side than on this side. And so in order for them to survive, they might have what? What's another word for change? They might have adapted, right? And they adapted into, you're right, Mila, until they both evolved enough to become different species. Okay? Yeah, kind of. All right, so now, though, I want to ask you a question. Can this snail, the green snail with the red shell, and the yellow shell snail, can they interbreed if they've hit speciation? They can in the very early stages, but once they have become a different species, then they cannot, right? So as they both are in the process of evolving, the answer would be right. Yes, Riley. But once they get completely evolved, they technically don't even belong to the same species anymore. And therefore they cannot interbreed. How do I feel about this? I mean, I know this is pretty basic. I mean, I'm not asking you all to like create a new species on your own. Obviously, it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of different genetic factors that go on where there's going to be turning on and turning off of genes as the species adapts. I mean, this happens over lots and lots and lots of time. All right. How to become a species. Yep, and 3 simple steps in less than 1,000 years. I have taught you all you needed. All right, but really, truly, I need you just to have an overarching grasp of how we get new species. Well, they have to be separated from their original species. Otherwise, there'd be no need to change, right? There would be no reason for them to start making large changes. So first of all, that something has to happen. There's got to be separation. All right. Otherwise, there might be a small change, but then they would interbreed with all the same back to the original population, and there would never be that giant change, if that makes sense. Okay. Then once they change, and over lots of periods of times, they change enough that they wouldn't be genetically similar to that original population anymore. That's what you need to take with you today in your pocket. So let's go through a question or two, and then I'm going to, because I promised to let you go, let's go through one question. Let's pick one. One, A, let's do A, B, or C. Which one do you want to review today? We don't have to do them all. For time's sake, because I did promise you I'd let you go. Vote for the question you'd like to go over. All right, it looks like everyone's voting, but it looks like B, the second question, has the most votes. So let's read it. Any readers for this question? Second question, which? Any takers? Want to read it? You don't have to answer it, just read the question.
Well, gentlemen, which is true of individuals if they are no longer the same species?
Perfect. So what do you think? They do not have the same genes. They do not share the same space. They do not resemble one another at all, and they cannot reproduce successfully with each other. What do you think? Oh, this is a good question. Put the poll up. Just give me your best guess. Zero judgment if you get it right or wrong. Because I think this is tricky. Right? Because a lot of those make sense. Like the snails didn't resemble one another. Some of their genes might be the same, some of them not. They don't share the same space, for sure. But I think the key to this is going to be, and what we talked about today, them being no longer the same species. What definitely can't be true. Yep, you're right, Gina. Is that you up there? Or JB? Yep, JB, that was you. It would be D. They cannot reproduce successfully with each other anymore. Those other things that you guys picked may be true. So don't be like, oh, I was wrong. They may be true. But what the most important thing in speciation is that to be a part of the same species, they have to be able to reproduce successfully with one another. If they can't, too bad, so sad. Good job, guys. And you might see that on your quiz today, hint, hint. But I'm going to let you go. I will stick around if you guys want to go over the next two questions. For those of you who want to leave, zero judgment. Okay. I'm going to have you finish the 2.14 quiz today. Do something today, all right? Remember, your education is part your responsibility, part mine. Okay, so make sure you do something today to further your understanding on this. All right. And I'm going to stick around if somebody wants me to go over these questions. If you don't, zero judgment. You do. All right. So let's look at this. Yep, you can stay. You can stay if you want to go over these, or leave if you don't want to, no judgment. So which event occurs prior to speciation? What happens prior to speciation? A, organisms of different populations join together. B, different species share the same species. A population is divided, or a major change happens on Earth. This is kind of tricky too. Because I'll make sure it is Madison. I'm seeing that. Because the answer to this question is I don't really like it. But I know what they're asking you, and I don't. So they're going to ask you if Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's what's trippy, all right? It's like the populations can't be together. Populations are divided, but which one is it? So the answer to this question is a population is divided. A population is divided. In my mind, I feel like it has to be there's a major change that takes place on Earth because that's what divides the population. So it's a tricky question. But I guess if you're talking about what happens to the species, not what happens to the Earth, the population has to be divided. So the answer here is C. All right. What about the next question? Anyone want to read the third question? Anyone still here that wants to read the third question?
I can.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Okay. How does speciation start to take place on a genetic level between two isolated populations? Large numbers of mutations occur, allele frequencies change in different ways, new genes are added to one group, recessive alleles become dominant. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you reading. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, what do you think, guys? What do you think? What's our thought process through this one? What are we thinking? How does it take place on a genetic level? What is the actual thing that changes? Yes. You are right. Someone said B, allele frequencies change. Right? So what happens is eventually the alleles, the genes, the genetics of a species change enough that they become genetically basically void for reproduction with that same species anymore. So it would be allele frequencies. The second question was, yep, they cannot reproduce successfully at all. So D, and this one would be B, about the allele frequencies change. Right? There's not necessarily mutations. Mutations are to mutate is a fancy word for mistake. It's not a mistake. New genes are not necessarily added. And recessive alleles never become dominant alleles. It's just those frequencies of what you're seeing in a population change. Good. So this should really help you with your quiz today. All right. And that should, Madison, be available. I unhid it and I made sure those dates were right because they all had 2001 dates or something. So I hid everything until we were ready. But it should now be open. And then I will make sure right now while I'm in here, that the study guide is open as well. Unit test. Did I just open the quiz or the test? Hold on. What did I do? Let me make sure I did the right thing. I did the. Did I do the right quiz? Okay, yeah, I did the quiz. I will unlock the test for you now too. So that basically whenever you're ready, that's available too. But it has, you hear my children yelling at one another in the background? You guys never fight with your siblings, do you? Never. Well, the quiz should be available. So awesome, guys. Well, I'm going to end class. You guys were rock stars today. That was super fun. Oh, thanks for being here. Thanks for participating and singing, even though I didn't hear y'all. And I will see you tomorrow morning, 8:30. Have a great day, guys. Peace.